Welcome to our webinar, Address Verification for Federal Agencies. My name is Sahar. I'll be your moderator for today's session. We have an insightful presentation all lined up. Our presenter will be Eric. He's the Director of Federal Sales. And then Michael is going to follow up his presentation with a demo. We're going to go over the importance of FedRAMP authorization and what that means for you. You're going to learn how Melissa can help federal agencies migrate their contact data to the cloud and typical use cases for address verification and change of addresses. And I'm going to pass that off to Eric to start.
Thanks, Sahar. Welcome everyone to our Melissa FedRAMP Authorized Products webinar. We look forward to discussing FedRAMP, what FedRAMP is, and which products Melissa has specifically designed for FedRAMP and the federal industry. And this slide also just touches on how Melissa has been a leader and a high performer and easiest to set up data quality type software company in the industry for many years. Okay, so I go to trade shows all the time, and everybody asks me, who is Melissa? Well, Melissa was started in 1985, so we have over 39 plus years of expertise in data quality. We're headquartered in Rancho Santa Margarita, California. That's the little bubble on the left-hand side of the west coast of the US there in the map. And over the years, we have grown into an international company. We have a few different offices in Europe and Asia Pac and South America as well. And then we also have data centers kind of scattered across the world too that help support our cloud services. We're a leader in global data quality. We specifically kind of focus on the contact data verification space where we cleanse email, address, phone, names. More recently, we've even expanded into identity verification. So we can now handle AML and fraud use cases, watch list screening use cases, and then definitely KYC and KYB type use cases, for know your customer, know your business. Some of the things that set Melissa apart from others is the value add that we bring for data enrichment. Like we can append email addresses, phone numbers. If you have really bad contact information, many times we can use other data elements to help complete missing information. We have individual demographics, business firmographics, so a whole wealth of things to help around contact data. So what is FedRAMP? FedRAMP was started in 2011, and it's a government-wide program established to ensure the security of cloud services that federal agencies can purchase. And it's also a standardized approach to assessing and continuously monitoring those cloud products and services. So how does that really help federal agencies? What it's doing is it allows one federal agency to come in, do the security vetting of the cloud service product, sponsor that particular product. It goes through an authorization process. When it's finalized, other federal agencies then can go and procure off of that ATO or that product without having to then go through and duplicate the security vetting of that cloud service again. So it's a time saver. One, it's a time saver for procurement, but it's also a time service for not duplicating security efforts, which saves the federal agencies money, and then also just the security IT time to go through that process. So what we've seen in the industry in general is data migration to the cloud, right? You go from on-premise deployments that were very popular 15 to 20 years ago, and now most data companies are providing some type of a cloud solution. Well, the federal agencies, federal government, federal agencies want to do the same thing. They don't want to be in their on-premise deployments where they have to constantly maintain that data. They have to constantly get updates and be behind a firewall. They want to also get access to the latest and greatest, most innovative products. And the US Government Accountability Office expects federal agencies to spend billions of dollars each year migrating to the cloud, but also for checking IT security of those cloud products. So pretty important. We expect that to continue as more and more agencies make that shift to the cloud. So data problems, are they a thing? According to the governing survey, 70% of government officials still say data problems cause issues with them delivering their effective programs or projects. Specifically to contact data in most of our projects, we see this all the time, right? Federal agencies that don't clean their data, they don't cleanse it, they don't update the addresses for new addresses for their end users or customers, they'll have problems reaching those customers. Maybe it's a phone campaign, maybe it's a mailing campaign, maybe it's just sending an invoice that's not reaching the proper person. It's definitely a problem that spans across the industry. To dig a little deeper into the contact data portion of data problems, we find that there's 20% of all addresses that are entered online contain some form of error. That could be a spelling error, could be a wrong house number, postal codes could be wrong. That causes a lot of things. It causes undeliverable shipments, could be fraud issues. It could just be a bad customer experience. But having those errors come in at online or point of entry is not a good thing. You want to eliminate that as much as you can. Also, what we find is, 28 million people moved in the US in 2022. So that's almost 15% of US households. And so if you're not updating and getting the most current address for somebody that's moved before you do a mailing or shipment, then you could be missing up to 15% of deliveries, shipments, mail, and that can cause a lot of problems for your projects and campaigns. The 110-100 rule. $1, meaning $1, it costs $1 on average to verify the contact information at point of entry. Point of entry being just what we started talking about, either an online form, could be a call center where you're getting data, somebody calling in. So it costs about $1 to verify that information that you're getting from the user has been cleansed, verified, is correct. If you don't do that, but we recommend doing that, but if you don't do that and you wait until the data gets into your system and it's been submitted, on average, it costs about $10 per record because you no longer have that capability of user interaction. And with that missing, if you get some data coming in that address verification system or some other type of data quality solution can't correct in an automated fashion, then you could have data that's not going to help you, that you're not going to be able to reach the person in a phone campaign or a mailing campaign. And if you do nothing, so you don't do any cleansing at point of entry, you don't do any updating after the data has been submitted, we estimate it costs $100 per record or more. Really, it could cost more. If you're delivering goods and shipping something that costs way more than $100, then it's, the loss opportunity of that is really costly to the business. But that's because, all right, you've done nothing. You haven't updated the addresses. They could, not be deliverable. You could not be getting the most current change of address information on the data. And so your delivered products or mail are not going to reach the correct person. So Melissa listened to the federal agencies, listened to our customer base, and decided that there were two products that we should incorporate for FedRAMP authorization and what we call the Melissa GovCloud Address Suite, or MCAS. And those two products are Global Address Verification and Smart Mover. The first one, Global Address Verification, is like what it sounds. It's our international standardization and verification for over 240 countries and territories. It's a web service API, so it's easily integrated to, and it can be utilized in either single record, real time, like you'd have on a web page, or via batch record requests that you may be doing in your database. Smart Mover is our next one, and this is a big one because we wanted to be able to capture the moves. When people move in the United States, and they move all the time, every 7 years, you want to be able to catch those moves before you deliver mail and get return mail or shipments. And so Smart Mover is our USPS NCOA web service API. It can be integrated to very easily, and it also can be utilized in real-time batch record processing. MCAS use cases. So we wanted to highlight two use cases for you from some federal agencies that we work with. The first one being Centers for Disease Control. The CDC has built an application that tracks lead poisoning in children based on their address location. So it's critical for them to have the proper address cleansing and geolocation or geocoding data on that address so that this application works properly. They have utilized our FedRAMP solution, the MCAS GAV, or Global Address Verification solution, in the back end of that application. So as that application is working and is tracking lead poisoning, all that data is being cleansed with our solution. The next one is the Department of Justice has created an application as well to update their old legacy address data. They actually call their data, the system, the Melissa Address Verification System. It also is using our Global Address Verification in the back end to standardize and verify the addresses up to current so they can reach their customer database. Okay, some benefits. In particular, in the contact data world, we've seen over the past decade federal spending on address validation as well as NCOA, upwards of $91+ million. Just in the past year, expenditures have increased to over $3 million a year in this area. And we believe that's only going to increase more. With FedRAMP adoption and more cloud services being available, we see that those numbers increasing more and more because more federal agencies will have easier access to adopt these through the FedRAMP program. Part of the benefit to FedRAMP, again, is basically do one-time security vetting of the cloud service product, but it can be used many times by other federal agencies in a piggyback fashion. It can save federal agencies in general 30 to 40% of their security costs, vetting costs. And then also it saves time and effort from the staff, not having to go through that whole process. Okay, some statistics. So FedRAMP, like I mentioned before, was starting in 2011. So that's almost 13 years of the program being available. And they've built up from being, a few cloud service products from some of the biggest companies in the first couple of years to being now 334 cloud service products that are authorized to be FedRAMP purchased in the system. There's 107 that are in process right now for review. So they go through a third-party review and assessment authorization process. 107 are in that process. 30 have made it through in process and are ready to be finalized. So another 30 to that 334 is going to be close to 365 in the near term that can be purchased through the FedRAMP process. And is FedRAMP mandatory? We get this question asked a lot. It is. So FedRAMP is a mandatory program for all executive agencies to purchase cloud products. Okay, with that, we're going to provide a live demonstration with Michael on our FedRAMP MCAS products.
Thank you, Eric. Okay, I'm just going to do a very quick high-level demo for Global Address and Smart Mover, and we'll just go straight into the demo. Here on the screen, we have a sample application for Global Address Verification web service. Kind of reviewing what this product does, we could actually do cleansing, standardization, and validation for 240 to 250 different countries. Here on the left, you can see all the fielded input options, kind of similar to like a form or a web entry form where clients might sign up and put in their contact information. And on the right, we have all the different response that can come back from our service. We'll just go over a few samples just to kind of show you how it works. And once I make that official request, you can see here on the right, we have all this different information coming back from the service. You will see all the different address lines, the locality and the administrative area, which is the US equivalent to city and state, and the postal code. And we have all these different parsed fields that we could return as well. In addition to the cleansing, standardization, and validation process, what we could do is actually validate and append any missing information or make some minor corrections here and there. So for example, if you look on the left, you see the drive is completely missing. Now on the right, you see that drive was actually added in. Another example, if I actually start removing some of these fields, you might still be able to get a match, and we still are able to see the locality and the additional area information that's returned. In addition to all this, there are some key features I did want to highlight. At the bottom, we see the latitude and longitude, and we do have a lot of coverage for many countries, and we could get geocoding to like the street or the rooftop level. And we also can return two additional fields like the delivery indicator, discerning businesses versus residential buildings, and the Melissa address key, which is a persistent ID that can be used for duplication and matching. And this could be particularly useful for select countries that we do offer for future projects. In addition to all of this, we have the result codes. And what this does is it indicates exactly what changed in the address, the precision or validation level, is it a deliverable address, and whether or not there's any errors. So we like to go very detailed into exactly what happened behind the scenes in the address engine. And I'm actually going to be putting in another example. And what we could do is accept multiple languages within the service. And actually, let's go to this one. So we're able to accept up to around 8 different languages. And what we could also do is transliteration, which is returning the Latin-based version of the address. Instead of worrying about whether or not you need to change the address in order for it to be fully validated, you could submit it as is, and then you'll be able to get the full results back. You can see, again, it's all parsed out, filled in, and put into the respective field. I'm going to actually skip over ahead to Smart Mover. Just a brief overview. Smart Mover is our official NCOA change of address service that will be able to update addresses if an individual has moved from a household or apartment. And what we could do is support US and Canada. So it's going to be all of US, also in most of all of Canada. And if you actually do a validation or change of address request, what you will see is the new address that is returned if this individual has moved. So you can see here on the left, it's a completely different address. On the right, it's actually going to Creekview. We always will do address cleansing, standardization, and validation on top of it. And you will see all these different fields that can be returned, which is like the standardized version of the original address, the new one, and of course, like a result code list showing exactly what has happened. Now, the Smart Mover process is going to be the official NCOA service that we do offer. There are a little bit of additional requirements in order to kind of get set up. For example, like a PAF form, which is a requirement for USPS, where you can actually perform NCOA and get approved by the USPS Postal Office. In addition, what we could also do is return CAS generated reports. So this is actually used to submit to USPS for mailing purposes and to obtain discounts, and NCOA summary showing you exactly what changed, additional aggregations and statistics and descriptions. For example, how many records has changed, how many has not been changed, so on and so forth. So the NCOA service will be able to detect moves for up to 4 years. For anything beyond that, if it's a little bit older or dated address, we do have other stuff internally that will be able to process it, but this service specifically will be limited to 4 years maximum. And that will be everything I wanted to cover for the demo. I'm going to actually hand it over back to moderator.
Thank you, Michael. That was an awesome demo that you did. So now we are going to move on to our question and answer session. How many countries and territories does the FedRAMP Melissa GovCloud Address Suite cover for address standardization and verification?
So the Melissa GovCloud Address Suite covers 240 countries and territories for address standardization and verification.
All right, thank you. We got one more. Does the FedRAMP Melissa GovCloud Smart Mover service access actual national change of address data? If so, how many years back of NCOA data?
FedRAMP Melissa GovCloud Smart Mover service will actually obtain the national change of address data, and it's actually updated on a frequent basis, I believe weekly. And we could actually go back 4 years. In some cases, some clients actually want to limit it to 2, which is configurable. But yeah, we actually obtained the official NCOA data from USPS Post Office.
If I purchase the Melissa FedRAMP GovCloud Address Suite, can I skip doing a cloud service security assessment?
In theory, yes, you can actually almost piggyback off of other security assessments if someone has done it already. But of course, our recommendation is to do your own risk assessment to ensure all your compliances, all of your security risks and requirements are all satisfied, and ensure that when you're onboarding it, you kind of see all the differences between the two. Maybe there's something that's very specific to your organization that needs to be satisfied. But in theory, it should be a little bit more streamlined if you have a lot of the same compliance and security requirements.
Can state and local agencies use FedRAMP?
Yes, state and local agencies can use FedRAMP. There's no ATO requirement for a state and local agency to use FedRAMP. Some of the state and local Agencies just want to be able to use a FedRAMP product they know has been securely vetted through this process. And so that is available to them.
Thank you, Eric and Michael, for answering those questions and for your informative presentations. And a big thank you to our audience for your participation. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're interested in connecting with Eric to learn more about Melissa's GovCloud Address Suite, here's his contact information. Please give him a call or send him an email. If you have any further questions or would like to learn more about our services, you can also reach out to us. This concludes our webinar on address verification for federal agencies. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great day.